For this lesson, we're going to start looking at fractions, decimals, and percents. And our key concepts during this lesson is that to write a percent as a decimal, we need to remove our percent sign and then divide by 100. And then if I want to write a decimal as a percent, I have to multiply by 100 and add the percent sign. So let's take a look at a few examples. So I have 16% and I want to write that as a decimal. And so I'm going to look at this first one, to write a percent as a decimal. So the first thing I want to do is I want to remove my percent sign. So I'm just left with 16. And then I'm going to divide by 100. And remember that when I divide by 100, all I'm doing is I move my decimal point to the right 2 places. So I'm going to take my decimal point that's right behind 16, and then I'm going to move 1, 2, and my new decimal point goes there. So 16% becomes 0.16. For 9%, I drop my decimal, or drop my percent sign, and then I'm going to move my decimal 2 places because I'm dividing by 100. And when I move that 2 places, I see that I have to fill in this spot with a 0. So I'm going to have 0.09 as a decimal. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try these 3 on your own. So for 0.7, when I drop my decimal, I get 0.7, or drop my percent sign, I get 0.7. Then I'm going to move my decimal twice. So I'm left with 0.007. For 537%, I have 537. I'm going to move my decimal over twice, and I see that I actually am right in between that 5 and 3. So I have 5.37%, or 5.37, because it's just a decimal, which actually makes sense because my percent is over 100. I have 537%. And then 0.9, I'm going to write 0.9, move my decimal twice, and I'm left with 0.009. To write each decimal as a percent, we're going to multiply by 100, and then we're going to add the percent sign. So I have 0.2, and I'm going to multiply by 100. And remember that whenever I multiply by 100, I'm really just moving my decimal point over 2 places. So if I have 0.2, I'm going to move my decimal over twice, 1, 2. So my new decimal is right there. So I have 20 now, and I'm going to put a percent sign there. I'm going to add my percent sign. So if I have 3.84, I'm going to move my decimal over twice because I'm multiplying by 100, and I get 384%. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. I'm going to move my decimal over twice because I'm multiplying by 100, and I have 0.5%. Express each fraction as a percent, and we're going to round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So the first thing I need to do to figure out what 5/8 is as a fraction or as a decimal, I can either use long division or I can just set up a proportion again. So I know that percents are always over 100, and I'm going to put that over x. So I'm going to have 8x equals 500. When I divide by 8 on both sides, I'm going to get that x equals 62.5. So 62.5. And since it's already over 100, and decimals are always over 100 because they are 100%, I can just go ahead and say that I'm going to add my percent sign to this. So I have 62.5%. The same way goes for 27 over 13. I'm going to get 2,700 equals 13x. And I'm going to divide by 13 on both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to get 207.7% because I wrote them over 100. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try these two on your own. So 7/9 would be x over 100, which gives me 700 equals 9x. 700 divided by 9 is 77.8%. 3 over 400 equals x over 100. So I'm going to get 300 equals 400x. And when I divide by 400 on both sides, I'm going to get 0.75%, so 0.75%.